Godot 4.0 has finally been released this week, which means there's a whole new range of features to get your hands on. It does, however, mean that there's many changes you need to make in order to convert your Godot 3 project into Godot 4.0 projects. For this video, I'll use my Platform Fighter tutorial series as an example, so here's a list of changes I'm going to go over. If you want to check them out specifically, the timestamps will be in the description down below. So with that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe if I've helped you out with my content, and let's get into this. So once you've installed Godot 4.0, the next thing you want to do is go to your Platform Fighter tutorial folder, and you want to copy it and then paste it. And so what you want to do now is change the copy over here to, let me zoom in a little bit, change this copy over here to 4.0, or rename it so that it is very clear that this is the new version of the game. And so from here, what you can then do is click on Godot 4.0, cancel, you don't have to get any assets from the asset library, do import, and I'll show you the directory to this folder. So as you can see, I am now in the directory for this Godot 4.0 folder. And so what you want to do is click on projects.godot, do import and edit, and it's going to come up with this warning. Now, there are two methods that you can choose to do. You can either decide to do a full convert or convert the project.godot file only. If you do a full convert, what it's going to do is any lines of code that you have that are outdated, Godot 4.0 will try its very hardest to update it for you. Whereas with updating the project.godot file only, nothing's going to change and you'd have to change everything manually. For my experimentation, it doesn't really matter which one you do. So I'm going to do a full convert and then press OK. This is just a warning saying that if you do this convert, there is no undoing it whatsoever. So the convert is now being done. The next thing you now want to do is double click on the project. So everything's being imported. You can try and fix any dependencies if there's any errors. There aren't any errors here, as you can see. There's no dependencies to fix. So now all you have to do is press open anyway, press OK, and as you can see, everything is messed up. You can fix this, and this is how you fix it. You go to close Godot 4.0, then you double click on Godot again, then you launch the project again, and voila, everything is fixed. And so now from here, what we're going to do is sort out some stuff that's not been adjusted or fixed. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is change the collision shapes. As you can see, across the whole project, the collision shapes have been halved. So to get them to be normal again, all we have to do is multiply them by 2. So for the collision shape of the floor, all we're going to do is go to the collision shape 2D, go to its size and times by 2. And do the same thing for the y-axis. If I hide the main stage 2, you can also see that the ledges are half their sizes as well. So we can do Ctrl S to save what we've done so far. Go to the ledge and go to this collision shape and times by 2. There we go. Now for something like the hitbox, because everything has been halved, we actually have to change the scale over here. So everything has been done, and now we can move on to the next stage of this conversion. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do from here is go to our Fox character, and as you can see, his collision shape is a bit warped. So what we're going to do is click on the collision shape and just times it by 2. From what I've been able to tell, everything has been shrank by a half. So this looks about right. The next thing you now want to do is fix the sprite being blurry. So as you can see, the sprite is a bit blurry. What you want to do to fix that is now go over to Sprite 2D, go to texture, and where it says filter, you want to make it nearest. And as you can see now, he's very crisp, very crisp. You might also want to click on Sprite 2D, go to the sprite frames, and you want to probably save this as Fox Sprites, just in case you lose it in the future. You want to save it. Same thing for the animation player. The animation player has gone through an overhaul. So now what you can do is manage animations, and then save your animation. So you want to do save as, and then you can go do characters, Fox, and you can do Fox animation library. Save. So yes, so now this is an animation library, so you can just get all of these animations again for the next character you want to make. And so from here you can save. Another problem is that with our animation player, the conversion didn't actually keep any looping animations. So animations such as air are meant to be looping. Animations such as idle are also meant to loop. There's also running, if I can find that. Run. And walking. These are the animations that are meant to be looped. The next thing to probably fix would be the fonts of these label nodes. So what you can do is go to theme overrides, go to fonts, and the way this works is you can now add a font variation. Then within the font variation you go to base font, and the base font is going to be a system font. And so I like Team Fortress 2. So the font I'm going to use, you just want to click on font names, then add element. I'm going to add the Team Fortress 2 font. You could also do another font if you wanted to, so I could do Professor, but I prefer doing the TF2 font. Now from here what you can do, which is really cool, is you can go to multi-channel signed distance field. This is going to make your font look really crispy, just look very, very good. So that's something that you can do. And so if you want to give it an outline like before, all you have to do is go to colors, go to outline color, go to constants, and where it says outline size you can just increase it. And so let me just align this in the center like it was before, and boom, here you go. So now as you can see, all the labels have been properly identified. And so now the last thing that we're going to do in here is go to Fox, and there are some things that we need to change over here. So the first thing we're going to do is change this floor layers and unhighlight all of these. So just unhighlight all of these. I don't think there's a faster way to do it than this, so I'm just going to highlight all of these manually. So the only floor layers that are 2 and 3, and the wall layers, we don't have any of those yet. I might have to add them in a future tutorial. You also want to change slide on ceiling, turn this to off. And finally, on leave, you want to change this to do nothing. When we add platforms to our stage, when you jump off of them, you don't want there to be any added momentum. You just want there to be any regular momentum that you're going to have from your regular jump. And so that's it for Fox's node system. Another thing we want to do with our Fox node system is to go to our Raycasts, because our Raycasts have changed now. In Godot 4.0, you can make it so that only the tip of the Raycast is detected, and unfortunately this is the default setting for the Raycast. So what we're going to do is allow it to hit from the inside on each of our Raycast nodes. So there we go. So if you're having any problems with Raycasts, just make sure you enable hit from inside if you want it to work like how it was before. Okay, the next action to take is opening up the Vox script, and the first thing you'll notice is that Godot has automatically converted many of its keywords and built-in functions to their updated counterparts. This is only because I decided to do a full convert earlier. However, you'll notice that not everything has been converted because there are new rules for Godot's for scripting. So for example, we have this error here because functions and variables can no longer have the same name. And so because of this means that this function needs to be changed. So frame and hit pause needs to be changed. You can also notice that Godot 4 now does multiple lines of syntax highlighting when there's an error. So what I'm going to do is change this function to be underscore frame, and hit pause is now going to be underscore hit pause. And so what this means is that if I go into the state machine, if I scroll all the way to the top, what I need to do here is change every instance of frame. So I've already changed every instance of frame here, but this is a very easy fix. All you have to do is press Ctrl, Shift and F, and then go onto where this script is located. So this script is located within the Fox folder. So I'm going to navigate to there. Select current folder and look for parent._. frame. So if I do replace, you'll see every single instance of parent._frame. So all I had to do was go over here and type parent dot and then underscore frame. And just to show you what it's meant to look like, all you have to, or I'm gonna revert it to what it used to look like. So parent dot frame, and then press reload, and as you can see, everything has been updated. And so now I'm gonna do the same thing, but for parent dot frame, and change it to parent._frame. And then press replace and then reload, and as you can see, every instance of parent.frame has been reloaded. And so the next thing to do would also be to change hit pause from parent.hitpause delta to parent._hitpause, and then that should be it for now. Another thing you'll notice is that if you previously had to declare a velocity variable, you will no longer need it. This is because velocity is now a built-in variable, so you can get rid of this line. However, to make up for this change, if your velocity was previously altered by a value, you can either update your character's movement value or use the new set velocity function. So if I go over to the state machine, you'll see that set velocity is parent.velocity times 2, but this is actually going to mess up my script, because if I move around in game, my velocity is going to have an acceleration of times 2. So I want to get rid of this line and then get rid of this line. And so go back to the Fox script, and what I'm going to do is these are all the constants that I use to determine Fox's movements. So all I'm going to do is times each of these by 2. Okay, so as you can see, I've now multiplied each of Fox's movements by 2. I could just actually have done the calculation myself, but just for the sake of time, I've just multiplied each of these by 2. Another thing I forgot to mention actually is that we want to go to the top of our state machine script, and one thing I've noticed is that if I look at parent and it says on ready var parent equals get parent, for some reason this parent isn't going to reference this parent over here. And so what that basically means is that we just have to say var id equals get_parent id, even though that is basically the same thing, because parent would be equal to get parent. But again, it just doesn't work. So that's one thing that we have to fix over here. You also want to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the state machine script, and where our landing function is, we want to change this to if this should actually say if parent.ground L or ground R is colliding. So let me fix that. And parent.velocity is more than or equal to 0. So if your velocity is equal to 0 or is more than 0, so aka you're moving downwards, and the raycasts are colliding on the ground, then you'll be able to land. For some reason, this line of code actually worked in Godot 3.5 when it was not meant to. So here's the fix for that. And so what you need to do actually is go over to the jump squat state, which is over here. And this lerp function, they've completely changed how clamp and lerp works. So before, it would kind of automatically detect whether or not what you're trying to lerp or clamp was an integer or a float, but you now have to do this manually. So instead of just regular lerp, you want to change it to lerp f to indicate a float, like such. And so now the next thing that we're going to do is change every instance of clamp to clamp f, because in Godot 3.5, whenever you are clamping, it was automatically assumed that you are clamping floats. But now that Godot 4.0 is more specific, you now have to indicate when you want your clamp to be of a float. So now what we're going to do is do Control Shift F and then do clamp and then do replace like we did before. And so again, you just want to make sure that it's not checking any other files. I want to untick the Fox character script and only select the state machine. And so what we're going to do is change this from clamp to clamp F and then do replace. and then reload, and there you go. Just want to fix this real quick because I was doing some experimenting. And so now everything should be fixed with the clamp situation. As for the clamps in our Hitbox script, we want to do Control F and do clamp. What you want to do here is actually make this an integer clamp, because what we're trying to do here is determine whether or not something is more than or less than 0. So using a float actually wouldn't make sense. So you want this to be an integer clamp. Okay, and so now what we can do is go to our project, go to the input map, and finally set the inputs for our player character. I've already set some because I was testing some things out, so you can take the pleasure of inputting them. So what you can do is just click on the inputs, press it on your keyboard or on your controller if you have one, and then press OK, and it should be done automatically for you. So you can do the same for up, same for down, same for shield, same for attack, and same for special. So from here, to make sure that everything is working as it should, I'm going to instantiate the Fox character, fox.tscn, and for some reason his sprite is not showing, but that is fine. I wonder if that's a layer thing. Okay, it doesn't seem to be a layer thing, but I'm just going to put it over here and then play the game and see how it works. Okay, so we can see that the parallaxing background is not working, but if I try and move my character around, oh wait, I forgot to do one thing, change the ID to 1. So if I try and move the character around, he's able to run around, he's also able to grab the ledge, he's able to crouch, he's able to moonwalk, so that's good, he's able to turn in on a spot like that. So okay, all his movements is working properly. I guess the next thing to work on would be the hitbox system, because as you can see, it is bugged. So we're going to fix that right now. And so to fix the stage, what you firstly want to do is go to the camera 2D, and any of its limits you want to get rid of. So that'll be the first step, get rid of its limits. The next thing you want to do is enable the template that we got from, I think, part 2 of this tutorial series, or part 1. And highlight everything. Don't forget to extend the parallaxing background node. So highlight everything and drag it over to where the viewport is. So this kind of purplish color, this is actually where our game is meant to be. In Godot 3.5 you could actually have the game be at the center, but now Godot 4.0 has changed that. So you now need to put everything within the viewport, as you can see. You could also go to the project settings, go to general, go to window, and change the viewport width and height if you want to, but I'll keep it at 1080p. So I'm going to put everything centered like so. Then from here what you can do is undo the template. From here the next thing to work on would be to enable the template once again. Go to the camera 2D script, camera 2D node, and where the scale is, you want to make it something ridiculous like 15 by 15, just so that you can make everything very visible. And so as you can see, if I click on the camera and drag it around, you can see the borders of the camera very well. I might actually make this 25 just to make it even more clear. So 25 by 25. So I'm going to put this in the center, and I'm going to make the limits what they are meant to be again. So what I'm going to do is make this something like 0, 0, 0, and 0, and I'm going to hold Control and drag the left limits all the way to the edge of the screen over here. Drag the top limits all the way over here. Drag the right limits to the edge of the screen over here, and drag the bottom limit to the bottom of the screen over here where the borders match up. So from here what you can now do is start up the game. Or before you start the game, you might want to take off the template. So if I go over here, yeah, the template is off, and so if you try and jump to the edge of the screen, it won't show you the very edges of the map. But there is a problem. If I enlarge this, you're able to see everything, and everything's not aligned as it's meant to be. So the way you can fix this is go to the project, go to project settings, go to window, and the mode, you want to change this to canvas items. The mode that was previously available on Godot 3.5 is no longer there. So you want to change the stretch mode to canvas item. You could also change it to viewport, but I don't think that's a good idea. So change it to canvas items. Play the game again. And there you go. As you can see, if I enlarge it, you won't be able to see the rest of the game. So as you can see, everything is kind of looking similar to how it was before in Godot 3.5. So as you can see, our error is not in anything to do with our create hitbox function, but instead our error is to do with the hitbox instance. So what we need to do is go to the hitbox scene, go to its script and see what the first issue is. So the first issue is that our previous angle flipper that we have is named after a variable, which is the first no-no that I introduced in this video when it came to the scripts. So what I'm going to do is just simply make this a whole comment, because I no longer need this anymore since we have the hits done state. And so now let's see if it works. So I'll start the game. Okay, so now we have another problem. Parent.connected is null, so I'm going to try and sort out what that means and then I'll go and fix it. Okay, so the solution for this is very simple. Parent is not defined. And why is that? Because our parent is not on ready. So you want to change this to on ready and have this with a @ symbol. So then if I go to debug, enable collision shapes, and I restart the project and I do something like up tilt works. But again, our hitboxes are half the size they should be, so that's something to fix. Okay, so it seemed very simple to me the way that we fix this. All we simply have to do is click on our collision shape 2D and change our scale to 2. So it seems like wherever you have a collision shape 2D, its size has been halved. So now to counteract that, you basically just have to change its scale to ×2, which would be 2 in this case. So from here, what we're going to do is add our second Fox character, instantiate, and then do Fox and make the ID something like 2. And for some reason my sprites weren't loading before, and I think I found the issue. So what I had to do, I think, was set the current animation to idle and go to the reset track and make sure that the animation here was idle. And so that fixed everything for me. And so as you can see, we can see both the Fox characters, and now it's time to test the hitboxes out. And once again, frame is no longer an existent function, so we change that to _frame. See if this works. There we go. So this works. Now from experience, not all attacks and hitboxes have been working, so I just want to test with each of them to make sure that they are working. Yeah, okay, there we go. So back air was the culprit here. Back air is one of the hitboxes that don't work. It sends in the wrong direction, as you can see. So this is something to fix, and I'm pretty sure I know the solution. Okay, so the way we fix this hitbox problem with the angles is by first going to the bear function where the attack is and looking at the angle flipper. The angle flipper is 6. So in this case, what we're going to do is go to our hitbox script and scroll all the way down to where the angle flippers are. And so the way angles are calculated now are inversed to what they were before in Godot 3.5. So what does this mean is that it basically means all you have to do is add 180 degrees to your previous angles. I'm pretty sure the maths in Godot 3.5 was messed up, and I adapted my code to work for Godot 3.5, but Godot 4.0 has fixed the maths that was in Godot 3.5. And so all you have to do is add 180 degrees over here, and we can test out the game. So the back air should now send away in both directions. There we go, it's working. And because this is a back air, if you're too close to the opponent, it should send the other direction. Oh, that's the wrong attack. So yeah, angle flipper 6 basically sends your opponent away from the attacking player rather than the hitbox. So the attacking player is hit regardless of their position related to the hitbox. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate to you how bouncing has been broken in Godot 4.0. So I'm going to duplicate this floor layer, drag it over here and rotate it 90 degrees. And then I'm going to go into the fox character, have a move that centers downwards and at an angle so that they can bounce off the floor and off the wall. So I'm going to use the up air. Then I'm going to go into the state machine and have it so that if the knockback is more than 0, which every attack is, then if the character touches a wall or the floor, they will bounce off the surface. And I'm going to make it bounce. This function has now been changed, so it should be get underscore normal, like so. And so I'm going to start the game up. And so if I do something like back air, yes, he's able to bounce, but not all the time. So if I do it again, there's going to be times where it doesn't bounce. So let me try that again. A better move would be something like up air. So again, the character's not bouncing off the ground. So if I do something like down tilt into up air, he's not bouncing. There you go. As you can see, it's sliding. So the way we fix this is simply by programming a bounce manually. And so the way we do this is I'm going to comment this out. I'm not going to get rid of it in case Godot 4 has an update that fixes this problem. But for now, all you have to do is say, what we're doing is saying that if we're on the wall or if we're on the floor, then our velocity is going to be equal to the total velocity that we're going to have at launch. So let's say we will launch with 1,000 units and our current velocity is now 400 because we've slowed down. And then we're going to reverse our H decay. And so let's see how this works. There we go. It's as simple as that. And up air should work as well. There we go. So up air works as well. And back air should work as well. There we go. Another problem I've just realized is that in our air movement script, if you fast fall, our bits for the platform would be disabled. But since the bit system in Godot 4 is different from the bit system in Godot 3.5, I'm now falling through the stage, which is a problem, and that is not meant to happen. And the solution is very simple. In Godot 3, the bit system was indexed from 0. So the third bit would actually be 2 because it would be 0, 1, 2. But now in Godot 4, the bit system is indexed from 1. So now all I have to do is change this to 1. And as you can see, I'm able to fast fall and not fall through the stage. So anywhere where you have collision masks or collision layers being changed, you have to increment the value by 1. And that wraps it up. Don't forget to check the Patreon in the description for the updated 4.0 version of the Platform Fighter series. And give the video a like and subscribe if I've helped you out. In the next video, I'll go over adding special attacks to our character, such as forward, up and down special. Projectiles will be its own videos, and this all comes at the request of one of you guys. So if you have any ideas, join the Discord server or comment down below. And with that said, I will see you in the next video.